A dream result yesterday for Courtney Conlogue, the Californian, getting her first Bells victory and taking the Jeep ratings lead into stop number 3. And we're seeing scenes of the celebrations yesterday. An emotional win for Courtney. Ecstatic to get the jump on Sally Fitzgibbons, a 2-time victor here at Bells Beach. The longest running annual surf contest in the world. As we get geared up for the call on day 10 of the event window at stop number 2. Welcome to Dawn Patrol. Ronnie Blakey here. A big show coming your way. We are going to look back on Courtney's victory and have a big discussion about the big moments that unfolded during the Rip Curl Pro Bells Beach. We're also going to get a surf hardware history lesson from surf nerd Pete Mel. So stay tuned for that, and we're going to have a look at the big matchups coming your way in round 5 and for the quarterfinals in the men's Rip Curl Pro. But first up, it's a big good morning once again to Ross Williams. Morning, Ross.
Good morning, Ronnie.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
You look fired up. I think we're going to get into some big discussion, big debate this morning, and also on the panel this morning is Strata Wasilewski. G'day, Strata.
Good morning.
How's the family enjoying their first trip to Bells?
They're loving it. Yeah, it's been nice.
Nice.
Beautiful place. Everybody's enjoying, settling in. A little rainy out there right now, though. Let's
talk about yesterday. A big result for Courtney. Obviously, she looks like she is more determined than ever, if that's possible. The Tiger getting the win, moving 2,800 points clear of her rivals on the ratings now.
Yeah, she really does. And for me, yesterday, it feels like a day of two tales. You know, there was the performance side of things where, first of all, it was so offshore, which was cool. We saw a different course. It felt like snowboarding in powder. You know, everyone was just kind of flying down the line, and we saw Carissa lay down the gauntlet. But then we saw, you know, Courtney Conlogue just chip away, and she reminds me of Adriana de Souza, where she's just unapologetic, fights through heats, and finds herself at the top. And this is 2 finals in a row now. She's just very tough to beat. She's got no holes in her game.
Yeah, her coach saying, you know, we know what the recipe is. We know what we need to do. We're just going to go out there, and you know, we're not going to change a thing. We're just going to sit on that corner. We're going to be in the position when the waves come, and we're going to execute. And that's the recipe for the, you know, the scores from the judges.
Pretty funny, just those surfers heading out into that final, smiling Sally, just the smiling assassin throughout those earlier rounds, and Courtney rarely breaks a smile until she gets that big result.
Pretty classic, yeah. And it's amazing because Sally even smiles like during a cutback. She's like, and like you said, Courtney, after every wave, she kind of stamps it with this like flex. Yeah.
Exactly. No, it's going to be fun breaking down those big moments from the women's event. But right now, we're going to find out if we're going to get those remaining heats of round 5 underway. We'll check in for the call with Rosie Hodge and Kieran Perra.
Good morning. Yes, Kieran, how quickly things can change. I mean, this morning we got you. It almost looked, you know, beautiful and pristine. The weather has come through. What are we going to do today?
Yeah, it's a terrible day today, unfortunately. What a difference to yesterday. Incredible day of action yesterday. The surf was amazing. And congratulations to Courtney. What a big final and a great win. Today, that wind just ripped through it. Kind of turned up about 20 minutes ago and just absolutely shredded the lineup. So we're off. We're expecting the swell to build in through the day today and looking at a great finish tomorrow. Try and start early and get it done before the onshore comes in the afternoon.
And it's so big and lumpy today. What can we expect from tomorrow's condition?
Tomorrow, the swell should build all day today, and it's going to be good double to triple overhead tomorrow. So solid 6 to 8 feet, and really kind of, hopefully what will happen overnight is that wind will back off and the swell will kind of groom up again, and we'll wake up tomorrow morning and see really stacked lines.
I love that. Can't wait to see what tomorrow brings. It is all for today, so back to you, Ronnie.
Thank you, Rosie, and let's dive into the Surfline forecast here and get a closer look at what is coming our way. As Kieran said, it is horrific out there at the moment, but good things coming our way tomorrow for the finals, possibly.
Yeah, you can see the fetch coming right for Bells, and you can see it just moving in. A lot of weather, a lot of swell activity. It's really going to be pumping. It's just hopefully that the winds can turn in the favor for us. You can see it building in through Saturday into Sunday. Just hammers into the corner right there, that little dot Bells where we want it, and we'll see what happens with the wind as we progress through today and into tomorrow. We heard Kieran just touching on the wind right there. You can see it, the wind just flying straight across the Bells Bowl. So, you know, there's a lot of float onshore with you know, a little side shore boost, but hopefully tomorrow we can see that kind of clock around a little bit more offshore. As you can see through the day, just takes off, ramps up 10 to 13 tonight, and then into tomorrow. It even rises through the morning to 18 feet, which is just pumping 6 to 8 foot surf. You can see the winds there at the top, 8 knots coming across, and then getting a little stronger in the afternoon. So hopefully we get this thing done in the morning and we just have a beautiful Bells Bowl groomed and ready.
We'll talk about how those conditions are going to work out for the remaining competitors in the men's draw. But when we come back from the break, we're going to have a look at the big moments from the women's Rip Curl Pro.
Kiss me while I'm dreaming. Tell me I know what to do when I wake. Realize I wasn't with you. Kiss me when you're leaving. You only come to me at night. No, I'll just give in to feel alright. Seems like if I die, haven't quite figured it out. I'll just sleep, let the dirt fill up my mind. Swear too late for dreaming, you won't come to me again. Although you promised it would never end, and I believed it. You will never kiss me on the phone. I will never smell you on my clothes. Forced to live inside a dream that feels so right. Never got the chance to see a light. All these silly dreams, I can't figure what to make but let go sleep. And there's not much I can tell. Feelings stuck repeating, living around me when I wake. Another reason to avoid the
Bells Beach. To me, what makes it amazing is that it reminds me a lot of home. The whole vastness and how the elements all seem to show up every time. Just take a look around, big cliffs, consistent swell, and I think that's why we appreciate it that much.
Great to have your company this morning for Dawn Patrol. We're about to look back on the big moments from the Rip Curl Pro for the women. Some great performances, but some very close heats as we move through the rounds. And let's dive straight into it, because one of the real controversial heats, you'd have to say, separated by less than a point, 0.17 the difference between Malia Manuel and Stephanie Gilmore in round 4. Ross, you were loving the approach from Malia in this heat.
Yeah, I really did. And it's just, at the end of the day, our audience, everyone watching was the winner, because these are the heats you love to pick apart. And it really was polarizing. We have a lot of people out there that think Steph won the heat. A lot of people out there thought Malia won the heat. I personally thought Malia's turn right there, it was slow mode, but in real motion. The degree of difficulty on that one turn alone, for me, it should have had more of a separation. She received an 8.3, Steph had an 8.56, and we know how Steph is. She's got that smooth rail surfing on lock, but it's so difficult to pull off a snap where you're literally hitting the lips so hard that you disengage and reconnect, and that's why I thought Malia had the nod.
It definitely looked that way. I was calling that heat with you, and just Steph's ride, her last wave, just went a little sleepy through the midsection. She surfed it well, granted, but even Rosie Hodge was out in the channel. She didn't think that Steph was going to get the number, but like you said, in that situation, 0.17 separating, there's always going to be a little bit of separation. But Strider, you saw it go Steph's way.
Yeah, I was down on the beach. I watched it. From eye level, I watched, Malia, you can see it on camera right there. She nailed that turn beyond belief. But the rest of her turns were really kind of tappy. She's off the tail, more off the, and I thought that Steph was engaging the rail more, which I liked, and she was going faster. So, for me, it was Steph's way.
And that's where I totally disagree, because I've heard that from a handful of people where say Malia was surfing more weak, but I don't
No,
get
I didn't
that.
say weak.
No,
Just
I'm
tail
saying
heavy.
people. I didn't say you.
Oh, okay.
You said tap, which is worse than
Yeah.
weak. But Malia surfs with beautiful rail technique, and Stephanie is not a power surfer either. They're both not power surfers, but Stephanie has a little better technique, so she gets more torque. But in general, I would like to see, when there's those close heats, I would like to see the nod go towards the surfing that was more difficult, and that is a no-brainer for me. Malia did the hands down one of the best turns we saw the entire
Yeah,
event.
definitely the best turn. But the rail game for Steph, for me, faster, cleaner, stronger.
A little bit, but more difficult turn. for
Hey,
Malia.
we could talk about it all day. And like you said, Ross, the fans were the benefactors in that situation. A close
Brilliant.
heat, great
That's right.
performances, and both those ladies are on fire at the moment. Let's look at Carissa Moore's performance. Barton Lynch was commentating with us during this heat, Ross, and he said it's the best surfing he's seen at the bowl from a woman. So amazing from Carissa, and the only criticism BL had is that he felt that Carissa should have saved more for her semi-final heat after she'd established such a strong lead.
We even heard one of BL's classic woohoos, I think, during that heat. But I hate agreeing with cliches, but that time it really did make sense, because she already had a couple of 9.3s or whatever it was, and then she took off on a wave with priority. She could have chilled out the back, Carissa, and got like a 9.5, which was amazing because she had all of her jaws drop, but she did look tired in the semis.
Yeah, the Hawaiian hammer was just getting dropped. I mean, she was surfing so well. I think what was the difference here was that her rail was engaged down into the bowl the whole time, and she's holding it all the way through. Look at that, and it just looked so beautiful. It just fit the wave and the conditions so perfect for the moment. And this is definitely some of the best surfing we've seen out of anybody here at the event, through a heat. I mean, just beautiful. And to stick something like that off the end, she's ready to go, and you think, oh, unstoppable for this event.
The big thing is, though, it was Sally Fitzgibbons upsetting Carissa in the semi-finals, and Joe was trying to get Martin Potter to elaborate on a bit of a game plan, maybe to take down such an informed surfer, and Carissa started this heat reasonably well. He said that she just needed to get a big number on the board. I think that is obviously the strategy for any competitor, but I liked Sally's mind games in this heat. She actually got a huge number, Ross. She surfed this wave with a lot of aggression, and when she went back out in the lineup, she actually paddled past Carissa and shot her a smile. And I think Carissa has shown some mental vulnerability over the years, and I don't know if that was the turning point. What are your thoughts?
Well, I do agree with BL and our overall consensus that she was a little more spent in the semis. I think physically, I caught a wave at Rincon last night, and I could hardly do a turn at the end of the wave. Bells has this weird knack of just absolutely turning your legs to jelly. So physically, it's tough out here. And the other thing that Bells does to you that's so tough to get past is it ices you out. It goes flat out there for 5 or 10 minutes at a time. So there is a bit of luck involved, and Sally was in better rhythm.
Yeah, I'm tending to agree with the mental call there. I feel like that little flash of a smile might have put her head a little bit different into the game. Carissa, if she had the waves, she would have crushed them, but I think she kind of got thrown off a bit by Sally and her game there. She looked really strong.
Coming off the back of her worst ever finish in a CT event, Sally Fitzgibbons knocked out in the second round on the Gold Coast. She made the final, but she came up against Courtney, and the smiling mind games didn't work in this last heat because Courtney, the Tiger, she just lit things up. She got herself on the biggest waves too.
She really did. That was consistent with Courtney. She had a really good beat on where to sit, rhythm, wait for the big set waves. She didn't really waste time on mediocre waves and get 5.5s. She just stood up, and it was an excellent score. The other thing that Courtney was so impressive with, Strider, is physically she seemed to not even get anywhere near being tired on her waves.
Yeah, definitely not. And her coach saying, Richo, you got to nail that inside turn. You have to stick it. She, in the prior heats, had fallen off a few times on the inside, and he said, if you're going to win this contest, you need to slam it home. Whether it's a little bit safe or not is up to you, but you need to make sure you stick it. And there's a lot of aggression going into those opening turns, and then to come to the inside, finishing off, and that's where she had to come down with the board and make sure it was all finished off, and she did it. You know, she got it done.
Ronnie,
it was pretty great.
Sorry, Strider. Ronnie, she's so smart too. I think body language does help you compete, and Courtney really sells it. She has those turns where I think if she was free surfing, maybe she would push a little harder on that rail, but when she's in a heat, she knows she wants to for sure make it. So she finishes her carves with a little bit of like a flex, you know, that kind of sells it a little bit to everyone. She's smart.
She's flexing here, ringing that bell.
I think she dented it for sure.
She went absolutely crazy, and you could hear the emotion in her victory speech. But let's bring up the rankings now. 2,800 points clear of Tyler Wright, who was holding onto that yellow jersey. And it's going to feel good for Courtney heading into 2 events now that she took out last year.
Heading into West Oz too, where you could say that she is the one to beat. She was expressing to us, Strider, how she just can't wait to get over there.
She's, you know, something interesting. Richo is not going over there with her, but she's got somebody down there that she has obviously had success with. So, you know, she's got somebody in her camp wherever she's going, I feel like, this year, and that's going to be the point of difference for her. She's got so much confidence, and I just feel like she's going to be on a march through the year for sure.
We are down here at Bells Beach. Torquay was the birthplace of Rip Curl, and we're going to be having a look through their wetsuit archives after the break with Pete Mel. Stay with us.
Kiss me while I'm dreaming. Tell me I know what to do when I wake. Realize I wasn't with you. Kiss me when you're leaving. You only come to me at night. No, I'll just give in to feel alright. Seems like if I die, haven't quite figured it out. I'll just sleep, let the dirt fill up my mind. It's way too late for dreaming. You won't come to me again. Although you promised it would never end, and I believed it. But you will never kiss me on the phone. I will never smell you on my clothes. Forced to live inside a dream that feels so right. Never got the chance to see it light. All these silly dreams, I can't figure what to make but let go sleep. And there's not much I can't tell. Feelings stuck repeating, living around me when I wake. Another reason to avoid the day.
Day 10 of the event window here at the Rip Curl Pro Bells Beach. No competition today, but still plenty coming your way on Dawn Patrol, including a bit of a history lesson on Rip Curl wetsuits from Pete Mel. Pete, how's it going?
Oh, it's good, thank you. And did you call me a surf nerd? I think you did.
I did.
Cool.
You are
All
a
right.
surf nerd,
I
but
admit-
in a good way.
I know that. I know that. It's all love, right? I am a bit of a surf nerd. Yeah, I grew up in a surf shop my entire life, so I do know a lot about surfing. Just by matter of fact, I had to live it and love it, you know, and I do truly love it. So yes, I will admit I am a surf nerd. But just take a little history lesson on wetsuits. You know, out of necessity here at Bells Beach, it's cold, right? So you have to have something that keeps you warmer. Back in the day, they wore jerseys or wool sweaters, anything to stay warm. And now, over that time of necessity, we were able to develop neoprene. Neoprene came in the early 50s, and soon thereafter went into wetsuits, right? And that's where we've been able to see the development go. Here in Torquay, the surf industry industry was born in the late 60s, 69, 70. That's when rip curl was developed. Rip curl has been in that industry for a very long time. You see some of their first wetsuits, I mean, vests, you know, and we know how cold it is out there. This was a neoprene vest that was worn in those early days. And over time, it developed from the original wetsuits, which are these bulky, thick neoprene 4mm suits that were nice and warm, but not very flexible. So over time, he kept developing innovation, you know, and we started to see suits go into colors, where we added nylon onto the rubber, which allowed us to be able to have color. We also got to see different stitching. There's gussets, which allowed for comfort. And then the innovation kept developing over and over and over again. You get into the insulator and the agrolite. I mean, remember those in the 80s when all those colors came into the picture? And then even getting into the 90s when you see Matt Wilkins's wetsuit, where he had all those suits last year, all that color. And nowadays you get to see developments in warmth added to the nylon, right? Or added to the neoprene. If you go inside this suit here, that's a polypropylene material, dries really quickly, actually adds warmth, so you can actually go thinner with your wetsuits and still stay warm and flexible. So there's a quick, brief overview. You guys have any questions for me?
I heard they make the inside of those rip curl suits with hair from Matt Wilkinson's chest. Is that true?
Oh, goodness, no, that is not true.
Pete, it looks like a hipster's dream in there.
It is. You look at it, I mean, you talk about the surfboards as well. I mean, that's what's so cool about this event specifically. It's the longest running event. It has 55 years of heritage from the surfers themselves, but also the development that happens within the wetsuits and surfboard design. And it's all brought here under one roof so we can kind of reminisce, you know, and see what we've been able to be a part of for so long.
Go, Pete. Thank you. I loved chatting to Barton Lynch about the wetsuits they were wearing in those first years he competed down here. He said as soon as you hit the water, it was just like
flush.
The floodgates opened, all the seams,
seams
leaked water, and it was freezing cold for a moment, but eventually they warmed up enough to compete. But great getting a history lesson there. Still more to come on Dawn Patrol. When we come back, we're going to look at the big matchups remaining in round 5 and the quarterfinals here at Bells Beach.
Kiss me while I'm dreaming. Tell me I know what to do when I wake. Realize I was here with you. Kiss me when you're leaving. You only come to me at night. No, I'll just give in to feel alright. Seems like if I die, having quite figured it out, I'll just sleep. Let the dirt fill up my mind. Swear too late for dreaming. You won't come to me again. Although you promised it would never end, and I believed it. You will never kiss me on the phone. I will never smell you on my clothes. Forced to live inside a dream that feels so right. Never got the chance to see it live. All these silly dreams, I can't figure what to make but like a sleep. And there's not much I can tell. Feelings stuck repeating, living around me when I wake. Another reason to avoid the day.
Welcome back. Yesterday afternoon we saw Courtney ring the bell, and now we're going to be looking for a winner on the men's side with still 2 heats of round 5 to complete and some big names left in the mix. I think 2 of the best surfers on the Bells Bowl still in the draw on the bottom side. It's going to be fun when we finally get things underway. We looked at the forecast earlier on in the show, and there's going to be a lot of swell in the lineup. How is that going to play into these first couple of heats that we've got to knock over, Ross?
I mean, we're literally looking at possibly triple overhead waves tomorrow. So it's going to be bigger than we've seen so far in this event. So you kind of have to adjust who you think is the favorite. Mick Fanning, he's going to go to work on Davey. It's going to be really hard for Davey Cathos to get the win over Mick. He's just so smart, and you pile on the fact that you know he's going to annihilate every wave he stands up on. But definitely, as you said, Ronnie, the bottom half of the draw is just a bunch of sleeping giants down there. I think the winner will come from that half.
Strata Wasilewski, your thoughts? There's 4 Bell's titles left in the mix, but they're all owned by Mick Fanning. Geordie Smith, though, he has always looked very dangerous in this event. Can Kai Oabelli upset the J-Dog?
You know, he can. It's kind of like that first heat. These rookies, they can surprise us all because we haven't seen a lot of them, so everything we see is kind of new and refreshing. We know what we're going to get out of those guys. Actually, Geordie, we're not sure what we're going to get, but we have seen him kind of light up the last couple heats. You know, he's kind of turning it on a bit. We saw him throw that rail game in on that smaller wave during his last heat, and that was one of those turns where you're like, wow, there's Geordie we were waiting for. So I can't wait for that matchup.
Ross thinks that the winner of the event's in the bottom half of the draw. I'm sure you're looking at the top half of the draw and loving what you're seeing at the moment. 4 goofy footers making it into the quarterfinals. It will be a regular footer up against a goofy footer in the last heat of the event.
It does have me super excited to see all those goofy footers in the draw and obviously going to be into the final with that stack up on the top. I just think that we haven't seen a goofy footer because of the performances that but they're pushing the levels of performance so high now. All those guys have game in the lip, above the lip. Dantes will throw more spray than anybody out there. I mean, Wilco's blowing tail in the lip, traveling across like a Smith grind across coping yesterday. I mean, it's something I haven't seen out of these goofy footers yet, so I can't not wait to see the rest of this thing play.
It's going to be hard to beat. Big conditions tomorrow. I could just see him landing gnarly floaters and airdropping 20 feet. Out of the goofy footers, Itilo's got a chance, but Geordie Smith, the big Marmaduke, and huge waves, he's going to hack that thing apart.
He's had some great matchups with Mick in the past, so if those two do continue to move through the rounds, they're going to meet up in the semis. But Connor Coffin and Michelle Perez already into the quarters on the bottom half of the draw. Make sure you tune in bright and early tomorrow morning. We'll be looking to get competition underway very early. And don't forget, if you're watching in Australia, Daylight Savings will end. You'll have to tune in at 7 a.m. For the rest of you, we'll see you at 8 a.m. for Dawn Patrol.
This copyrighted event broadcast is produced by the World Surf League for broadcast around the world and may not be retransmitted, reproduced, rebroadcast, or otherwise distributed or used in any form without the written consent of the World Surf League.